Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Is there anybody out there? So I decided that I would do an unscheduled live stream to see if anybody would show up. Because I'm not going to be able to do the live stream tomorrow as planned because it turns out when I checked all our travel documents, I got my time of departure all messed up. And so looks like Man Minnie and I were going to be departing a little bit earlier, so I'll miss the live stream that I was planning on doing tomorrow. Aileen Cruz official is in the house. Thanks so much for showing up. I decided I would do an impromptu live stream just to see if anyone would show up. Oh, Tim, is it? It's late, kind of, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, we're going to be departing. We're going to be departing Manila earlier than I thought tomorrow morning. And so I said, oh man, I better do a live stream. I'm going to lose watch hours if I don't do something. So anyway, I decided that I better just fire up the computer. I'm on battery power right now. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. Just the way things turned out. Bryce is here. Hi, Bryce. Uh, welcome. So anyway, doggone it, I don't have my phone in my hand to see what's going on. But anyway, yeah. So I decided that since we had to depart tomorrow morning very early, just a few hours from now, we're going to be. We decided that we were going to stay in Cebu overnight, and then take the fast ferry to Ormoc. Anna May, what do you say? What's it going to be today? It was so nice meeting you here in Manila. But what ended up happening was, man, Minnie and I were sitting here talking, and we're all of a sudden we're longing to be home in Bye Bye City. All of a sudden we got homesick, and so we're just going to go straight through. We're flying Philippine airline on an Airbus 321. In just a few hours, we're gonna land in Cebu in the early morning hours. Then we'll find a taxi or a Grab, and we'll head down to the port, to see if we can grab the fast ferry. I don't know who we're going to take. Who's ever the earliest out of the bay. I hear there's a fast ferry goes across to Ormoc pretty early in the morning, so we'll go straight from the airport when we gather up our things. It goes straight to the port and then take off. So that's what we decided to do. And so I said, oh man, that means we're going to be on the high seas. By the time my scheduled live stream was going to go on at 7 a.m. Philippine time. We're going to get back to the normal schedule. But unfortunately, we're not going to make it. We'll be on the high seas. And so I decided, well, I'll bounce on real quick and let everybody know what's going on. So yeah, so it's been a fun journey. I have to admit that. I have to admit that we've had a blast. The most fun part, I would say, is meeting up with all our friends. From all over the place. That was pretty fun, especially in Thailand. In Thailand, of course, we ran into some big time YouTubers. Although I was very reserved about not getting starstruck and going up and asking for autographs and things like that. But tourist season is winding down in both the Philippines and Thailand, and you could kind of see it's evident. In other words, you can see people are people are disappearing. The airport, when we came into Manila, it was packed. It was packed. People were leaving, I mean, thousands of people, it seemed, in that airport. And let's see. Tim is saying, Dan, you need to rest up from your Thailand adventures. And that's true, because we need to get on to planning the next adventure. And we're not sure exactly where that's going to be, but we have a couple of ideas. And Larry's here. It says hello. Man Minnie, Larry says. He's at work and he's listening in the background. So we hope you're having a good shift. And Anna May is online, and she said to say hello. So we have a good good showing of people. Yeah. So what did I want to talk about? What it was going to be an open forum. I wanted to. Yeah. So the hotel that we're staying at, that we've been here for 4 or 5 days. By the way, we got a chance to meet. You guys probably saw it on Facebook. We got a chance to meet Anna May and also Mel, and they're delightful people with beautiful families, and I really appreciated them taking the time out of their busy lives to come to Manila. We met at Robinson's Place Mall, which is not probably about 2 or 3 blocks up the road in the Armida section of Manila, not too far from the entertainment district here. So we had a pretty good time. We had a lovely time, as a matter of fact. And Minnie is here. Hi, Minnie.
Hello.
Not you, Minnie. There's another Minnie on the line. I'm saying hello to the other Minnie. Minnie says hello, though. All right. So, what did I want to talk about? I want to talk about how tourist season is winding down and people are starting to disappear. And you could see the worry on some of the faces of the street food vendors. And I'll tell you one thing that puzzled me. If you don't mind me sharing, right? I was puzzled by a few things. Hey, Mertz is here. Hi, how are you? Let's see. Also, it was exciting. I don't want to forget to mention Knit Band. It was very exciting meeting Knit Band. There's something about meeting your friends, that live in the place that you used to live, Northern California or Sacramento, California, and meeting them for the first time overseas. I mean, there's something very interesting about that whole process. So we got to meet Knit Band, and Knit Band is a delightful, funny, witty, very intelligent young man. I think he's in his mid to late 40s, and we would have talked more, if we had more time. But Knit Band was suffering badly from what's called jet lag. I think it was jet lag, and also he had a layover in Taiwan that lasted something like 16 hours. But he took some fantastic pictures of some of the tourist attractions there in the high-rise buildings, and he posted them online on Facebook, and they're absolutely fantastic. Let's see, who do we have here? Oh yeah, Wave, the Wave. Ooh, and Mertz is here. Yeah. So I came on a little late. I know people want to go to sleep right now. They don't want to have to listen to me, because I tend to say things, that can be from time to time thought provoking and controversial and unwelcome. But really, the main thing is that I'm just sharing observations. So one of them was meeting our friends from all over the place, Sacramento and beyond. And then the other thing was being reminded of how the cultures, between the East and West are so different. And again, whenever I talk about that, it sounds like I'm Anna May. There you are. Sounds like I'm bashing the United States, but let's face it. I mean, let's just take Sacramento for a moment. I mean, Sacramento, have they gone even a week without a mass killing? In Sacramento, California, does anybody know? Because I think they've had one. They've had a mass slaughter of people for like the last 5 or 6 weeks in a row. It's horrible. And so when you're in Thailand or the Philippines, you forget about all those things because you don't sit watching the news. It's not because I'm not interested in watching the news. I am. It's just that there's no reason to watch the news, about what's going on in the West, unless you're just you know, wanting to see how your relatives are doing. So Larry is saying that, yeah, another reason why would be the weather. Just be glad you are not here. It is 10 degrees Fahrenheit at minus 12 degrees Celsius. Yeah, and I wanted to say something about the weather. So Uh, there's definitely a difference in the weather between Bangkok and Manila. That's the thing that I wasn't expecting, was that it's definitely hotter in Manila, and I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure what's going on weather-wise between Thailand and Manila, because see, if you look at them, if you look at them on a map, Bangkok is here, Manila's here, and they're on the same longitudinal line, right? They're on the same, I mean, the same long horizontal line, longitude, latitude, right? Longitude, latitude, however it works. Anyway, you guys know what I'm talking about. So the thing is that they're on the same line, and so as you're going across, the plane just follows that same path back and forth. They do. It's an international flight, but it's like a milk run. It's like doing a milk run. Milk runs are the delivery of milk for you folks in the Philippines. We used to have this thing called a milkman that would make deliveries every morning. Bryce, it's so nice to see you. And yeah, you never heard about the problems in California. Forget about it, Tim. Forget about it. You don't live there anymore. You don't have to worry about those things anymore. Annie MC is in the house. And Girly Senna, one of my supportive subscribers, always there supporting, sending love and support. And Al Baby, I think. And then whenever I'm responding to comments from Al Baby, I'm always afraid I'll misspell something, or I'll say something that I'll regret. Anyway, I don't know why it is. It's that hyphenation in the name or something like that. I don't know what it is. But anyway, I always get nervous. Yasmin is here. Hey, is Filipina Raquel doing a live stream right now? How did you guys find me? I hope I'm not stepping on her. I hope I'm not stepping on her live stream. But she does go on late at night, right? Yeah, she does go on late at night. So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the violence is something that I did not miss. I know violent things happen from time to time. It doesn't really matter where you are in the world, but uh, it doesn't happen so often the way that it's been happening in California. And that reminds me of a whole bunch of other things. Things that, by the way, that we were talking about. Some of the people I met with in Thailand that are from the same area, Sacramento area that I'm from, and we started talking about this, and uh, we're sharing the same story, and that is that how our blood pressure came down and our stress level came down, and all these things. We started to focus on different things like the culture, how beautiful life is, because we didn't have to dodge bullets in the middle of the night. We weren't ducking bullets coming through our windows in the middle of the night. I know some of you think, oh no, it can't be, Dan. It can't be. But yes, it is. It is that way. In an area of town that I used to live in before Minnie and I sold our house, that is exactly the way it was. Very scary. Police cars going back and forth with their lights and sirens screaming. So that discussion that we were having, with our friends, you know, um, everybody, we kind of came to the same conclusion, and that is that home, former home of Sacramento is a nice place to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there. Yeah. Because it's just getting to be too dangerous, and as well as the United States in general. I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that there's just so much going on in that country. And so I don't know. I guess culture, um, Oh, you were notified me. Oh, thanks. You had the notification bell going on. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So I guess that the big difference is, is simply that, there are huge cultural differences between the way that the United States grew up, as opposed to the way that the Philippines and Thailand and other areas in Southeast East Asia grew up, has probably a lot to do with this story. So anyway, listen, it's hard to explain it, you know, it's hard to explain it if you've never experienced it before. It's hard to explain what how your body reacts physiologically, when you have to put up with these types of things. But it's interesting that until the guys from Sacramento started talking about it, I never really acknowledged how my body has calmed down and how relaxed I am, how relaxed I've become since I've moved over here. And man, if you guys only knew what a beautiful place. I think you do know what a beautiful place that you live in. Barry's here from Barry's channel. Hi, Barry. You're one heck of a nice person. Barry, I've been appreciating your comments very, very much. People in California are tired of the mess caused by government. Well, I'm not sure that government kind of like spins around like a top, and I think that more accurately, Tim, if I would agree with you about what you're saying, I would say that the people are the ones that are behind government, and so they're the ones that have to, cause change, to occur. They're the ones that would be behind the change to occur, right? And so it means they gotta get up off their butt and they gotta do something. But people are pretty when the government is also handing you free money, which is what's been happening in the United States, when they're giving you checks in the mail. Folks, listen, in the Philippines, I know it's hard for you to understand, but they've been handing us money like it's going out of style. I mean, you'll be sitting around watching television, all of a sudden there's a knock on the door, and it's a FedEx guy giving you a FedEx check, saying this is from your president of the United States, wants you to be happy. And so you open it up and there's a check in there for $1,500 or $1,000 or $50,000 equivalent or 50,000 peso equivalent in an envelope. Well, when stuff like that goes on, then the people, they start, they throw the support to the people writing the checks, that sort of thing. Hello, City Vlogs. How are you? Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you being here. And Ed Denoy, yeah, bullets keep you alert. Yeah, yeah. So that's the other side, Ed. That's the other side. The other side is that keep you awake, especially when they come flying through your window glass, Angela, thank you for being here. Yeah, that's the problem. So that's the beautiful thing about living here in the Philippines. I think Tim knows what I'm talking about too, because Tim, I definitely know Ed does, but Tim, the reason why Tim lived in, you know, a neighborhood, or he was based, I think when he was in the military. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but Tim knows the area, of Sacramento well enough that he's able to comment. And so it never ceases to amaze me uh, how many people do know what I'm talking about, because they actually have the experience of living the same place that I've lived, but not only that, at a different time. So Filipina Raquel, welcome, welcome. So here's the thing about that, right? So when you grow up, what part of the thing is, I'll tell you a quick story. I think I may have mentioned this before. There's so many people here. So I had a professor when I was working on my master's degree. I was working on a master's degree, and the professor gave us this book to read, right? The title of the book was called Civility. But what it was a book about civility in the United States. And so I read maybe one chapter of the book or two chapters of the book, and then I went complaining to my professor saying, "Why do we have to read this crap?" And the professor kind of looks at me and says, what are you talking about? I go, "This book is nothing but a bunch of crap." And the reason is because the United States wasn't born of a civil nation. And so they wouldn't know a damn thing about civility. Quite frankly, civility is a learned behavior, and you learn it if someone is willing to teach you what being civil is all about. And so I asked the professor again, I said, "Professor, why are you having us read this book?" And then he says, "Because a friend of mine wrote it." And that is the way the world works, my friend. His friend wrote the book and we had to read it. Not only did we have to read it, we had to go buy the book. And as I recall, one of the reasons why I was pissed off about this is because uh, that book was something like $75 American money. I mean, a lot of money. And when you're working your way through school, it's very expensive to go to school, especially grad school in the United States. So when you're barely getting by, trying to figure out where your rent is coming from, which I know is a daily task for most Filipinos, um, having to spend $75 on a book is ridiculous. And so I had to let the professor know. So Kim's TV, how are you? Nice to see you. So the professor listened to me, and then I was kind of surprised by the professor's next move, right? So I continued on with the professor saying, we were born of cowboys and Indians. We were born we were born as uncivil people, you know, and you could argue that we never can attain civility or a level of civility because our historical underpinnings don't support that type of a cultural environment. And so the United States grows up, as being governed by fear. And so that's where I get that idea, that the United States is a culture of fear, or in the West in general, is controlled by the government controls the population through fear. Fear of not having enough to eat, fear of not having housing, fear of not having money, fear of not having jobs, fear of not having opportunity, fear of not having, a supportive network. And in the Philippines, it's totally the opposite. It's one of hope for the future, hope for education, hope for a job, hope for a lovely family, and hope. And so that's the thing that struck me on YouTube, is that you can see the difference between these cultures. It's so obvious. And so it's I would say it's unusual for a guy like me to pick up and move to a different country, not necessarily with the intent of making it my permanent residence. I haven't decided about that myself personally, but moving to, explore, a different way of life, a different culture, understand and learn about what the differences are. And so far, the ones that I've shared with you are my own personal opinion. They could be worth nothing. They're worth absolutely nothing except the value that they are to me. Those are the way that I perceive the world. So Tim is chiming in here saying, "I remember a shootout and the police called the Air Force asking for the big guns and armored vehicles. The police were outgunned." And Tim, you're bringing up a very good point here, because in the newspaper recently, in the local Sacramento newspaper, it's called the Sacramento Bee, they reported this past week that the city council had voted to go ahead and spend $500,000 or is it 500,000? Yeah, $500,000 on a new tank or new armament. So, a lot of people are critiquing them, saying that, well, this is just a continuation of the militarization of the police department. And what happens when you get now? Listen, I'm a government employee, but we signed an oath, and basically it said when you're called by your government, when you're called to service by your government, you must go. So I signed a piece of paper that said that as long as I'm receiving money from the government in some form, then I have an obligation to report to duty should they need me in times of trouble or calamity. And I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if that means war. I don't know if that means you know, if they have an earthquake, if they have a flood and they need help. FEMA needs help distributing goods and services and money. I'm not sure if that means that if they call me up and they say, we need you because we don't have enough volunteers, then I would be forced to go. Helen, hello, Helen. How's life in the big city? Yasmin, thank you so much for coming. Anime, one of the most delightful people I've ever met. Sailor Moon is here. Hi, Sailor Moon. And of course, the incomparable Filipina Raquel is in the house. So, yeah, anyway, yes. Every culture, society has its problems. Every culture and society is going to be experiencing at some point turmoil somewhere down the line, right? Right now, the West is in, and maybe even the world is hey, how are you? Mingay. So here's the whole thing. The West right now, they're suffering from inflation, the same as you are in the Philippines here, and the same they are in Thailand. Oh, that was a shock. That was a shock. The cost of food in Thailand. I don't know if I were hitting the wrong venues, but what I noticed about Thailand, even just from a few months ago, because man, Minnie and I, we were there just 4 short months ago, right? And so the changes in the cost of food and everything and transportation, when you're talking about taking taxis, it just was amazing. It was so much more expensive, and I can't put my finger on it. I'm thinking that things are expensive, but they're not out of hand expensive, but they were charging out of hand prices, and in order to get the local prices for um, the food, what everybody else is pay, where the general population pay, you had to remove yourself from the tourist area completely, and you had to go in search of where the locals eat, and where you find locals eating, you'd get a reduction in the price for that meal, mostly rice meals, that are sold on the street in Thailand. And but see, here's the whole thing that caught my attention. Prices has still gone up 20 and 30% since the last time Man Minnie and I were in Thailand. In that short period of time, the prices have risen. So when you get YouTubers out there and start talking smack, like you can live in Thailand for $3 a day. You better rethink that whole thing. Yeah, rethink that whole thing. Just like I'm starting to become a little nervous because the dream really on YouTube. I mean, I'm lucky because most of my subscribers, Minnie, there you are. I'm lucky because most of my subscribers are Filipino. And what I mean by that is that um, I'm not selling you guys any kind of a dream except the same one that you already have adopted or for yourselves, and that's the dream of a better life and a great future. But you don't need me getting on YouTube saying that you're going to have a great life in the future because you have a young working age population, and it's an educated population, and factories are starting to look towards the Philippines to establish factories. I mean, you're already going to see this. You're going to see, you already have medical equipment being manufactured here, and that'll expand most likely to other things like automotive parts and things like that. They might even assemble automotives here. I believe they have in the past. So it's that youthful population that is, it creates a bright future. But again, I've also observed that, when that happens, and people start earning more money, then, and when you get a whole bunch of foreigners moving into your country, then the price of goods and services starts to climb. That's just a fact. Oh, yeah, we used to call it. Yeah, that part of, oh my gosh, Tim, you reminded me. Yeah, we did used to call it that. We used to call it Rancho Cordova or Rancho Hordova or Rancho Cambodia. Mm. So, Yasmin, I really appreciate you being here. And so, uh, what can I say, Angela? So, really, it's a struggle to live in the Philippines for most people, I would say, for right now. But you see this tremendous future, and it's in the near future. It's not in the so distant future, right? It's in the near future. Every time I go into a Jollibee or Minnie and I, we just came back from Chowking. I like their noodles and show mai and a few different things there that they have. Um, I see people going in there and spending money, and they have a smile on their faces, right? But I mean, it's Manila, but we have this going on in Bye Bye City Leyte also. Bye Bye City is a small city proper is kind of small. But Jay Lynn, how are you? Jay Lynn, thanks so much for being here. So, but it's hard to get into that Jollibee. You have to go at certain times of the day if you want to get in there and get your food in a decent time frame because it is so friggin' busy. And so is the Dunkin' Donuts. And all that's telling me is there are people with money to spend. Yeah, there are a lot of foreigners hanging around the Dunkin', but you get over to that Jollibee, and that is like Filipino town. That's Filipinos everywhere, lined up, wrapped around the building sometimes during lunchtime. And the population is not that big in Bye Bye City. And also you see it in Asal. And folks, they just opened up the first 7-Eleven there in Bye Bye City Late, and we're thrilled. We are thrilled. So, oh yeah. Here's sure you're trying to clean it up now. Yes, Rancho Cordova is the area, right? And it's still basically the same, Tim, as you remember it. You got to drive kind of fast through Rancho Cordova. Oh yeah. Oh, it's been worse, Dan. I was living in peaceful Japan when LA was burning down. You must be talking about the Rodney King riots. The Rodney King thing was historical, I'm telling you. But stuff is going on right now in Atlanta and Nashville and different cities all over the place in the United States. Yeah, and they're approaching uh, law and order in a way in which I can't imagine. Taking tanks and militarizing the police and uh, using all kinds of different things in order to control peaceful protests of the populations in the United States. Anyway, that's the difference. Thailand and Manila, Philippines versus the West. That's the way I see it. And my opinion should be valued by some because I'm living in both places, right? And so I know I can share my opinion and experience with everyone. But another thing caught my attention. I was talking about the cost of goods and services keep rising, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. It just doesn't seem to be slowing down. That's worrisome. That is very worrisome. So yeah, right now cost. Oh yeah, books cost me $800 per semester for 3 classes. Exactly, Tim. That's what I'm talking about. When you're in school and you're doing everything you can, you're wearing the. Of course, now blue jeans with holes in them are the rage, right? But back when I was going to school, you didn't want to wear blue jeans that had holes in them, but you did, because that's all you had to wear. So anyway, the most important thing was education. It's not what you wear into the classroom, just as long as you have everything covered. Anyway, so what is Thailand and the thing about Thailand? Okay, so now I got to say this. All right. Oh my goodness gracious, you guys! I know that this has been talked about, you know, so many times on YouTube, and it'll probably still be talked about because it gets views, and that is that the taxi driver issue. I don't get it. When if you want tourists to come back, to your country and spend money, then use the meter. Use the meter. Because if you're a taxi driver and you're not using the meter, you're setting yourself up for companies like Grab and Bolt and all those other companies that are out there that want to take your business, want to be in the transportation business, one of the most lucrative businesses to be in right now. It'll be like taking candy from a baby, because all you have to do is light up your Grab app. And even if you pay a little bit more for the Grab, at least you're not going. See, I've had this experience where I will insist that the taxi driver use the meter. And if they agree, most of the time they don't. They just say, get out of my cab. But if they agree and they use the meter, then they want to drive me all over town. And I'll have to say something like, hey, please don't use the scenic route. Tox is here. Tox, how are you? Pretty Me is here. Tim says he rode his bicycle through that area of Rancho Cordova, and 5 minutes later the shootout started. Yeah, you were lucky you were killed. Yeah, see, we were born of cowboys and Indians in the West, and so we end up. It's just like you guys see it on TV. It's just like you see in some cowboy movie on TV. It's just like that, and it never changed because that's our historical underpinnings. That's our history. And so how could you go to how can you come to us, being that I'm a Westerner, and say, hey, be nice, play nice in the sandbox, peace, love, and rock and roll, and put your guns away. No, you cannot do it. You see, you can't do it. And so I'm not saying don't live in the United States and move away. I'm saying, find someplace else to go once in a while so that you can, it's about your safety and your health. It's about your safety and your mental health. And, I realized what an impact moving has had on my mental health. It's changed it. I'm a nice person now. Instead of always, I still look over my shoulder a lot because I can't shake that. And perhaps one could argue that when you're in Manila, you should be looking over your shoulder, especially if you're out there walking around in the middle of the night, drunk, coming home from the bar. You might not put yourself in a challenging situation if you're out there being a fool. But anyway, the taxi driver thing and also the other thing was, why would you overcharge people to eat your food and to attend your venue when you want them to come back? Please come back to my country. We want your money. It employs millions of people. And so if that's the case, why would you shoo them away by not using the meter on the taxi, by overcharging and doing all this crazy stuff. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it because that's not hospitable. That isn't gonna get people to come back and revisit you. I mean, that should be obvious. And so that irritated me. So here we have this situation where we were in lockdown for 2.5 years, 2.5 years locked down, couldn't move. A lot of people went broke in their small businesses. A lot of people lost their livelihoods, and many, many, many people suffered. And so, why would you take the chance on having that happen again, where people will shut you out and not visit you because because you charge them too much money and you're taking advantage of a situation. So I really felt that way when I was in Thailand. By the way, not while here in the Philippines. So this is a remarkable difference, that I observed. So being here in Manila for a few days, not quite a week, but being here, I I was able to make a comparison, between what's going on there in Thailand and Bangkok and what's going on here in Manila. And it's business as usual in Manila, although over there they're taking advantage, as and I mean they're taking it as far as they can take it in Thailand. I did not find that to be the same case here in Manila. People seem genuinely happy that you're here, and I didn't see anybody, trying to take advantage of me outside of the taxi drivers. And now I'm so tired of it, that whole taxi driver thing, that I'm just going to take Grab from now on. See, so the taxi drivers, hey, you're already causing me to change my behavior because you won't use the meter. By the way, we're talking specifically here of Manila when we're talking the meter problem, right? They always want to flat rate you. Well, no, I want to take the meter. Well, and then once you start talking about taking the meter, and they see you taking pictures of their cab, then all of a sudden they want to negotiate, but they still don't want to use the meter. And so in Thailand, it seems like it's worse. In Thailand, it seems like it's worse. Meaning we had to figure out how to take the trains everywhere and the buses and walk. We did a lot of walking in Bangkok, but we did very, very well figuring out how the transportation system works because we just didn't want to be taken advantage of by the taxis. I know people are saying, "Come on, Dan, you can afford it. You're a walking ATM machine. You can afford it." No, that's beside the point. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to. I don't want to mess the local economy up because it's already messed up enough. But even though I know Grab is a little bit more expensive because they're raising their prices, you still net save money using them, because if you get a cab that uses the meter, then they're going to drive you all over town. Even if you got GPS, no, GPS says go left, and they go right. They take you on a tour of the city, compliments of your wallet. But Jeff, how's it going, Jeff? We'll be home soon. I don't know I don't know if you're socializing these days, but when we get to bye, we'll be down at the Dunkin', the local Dunkin'. So anyway, I had to say that, but I did not see the same thing with the food going on in Manila that I saw going on in Bangkok, Thailand. And in Padi and other places. It turned out to be a moderately expensive trip. And I was very surprised by that. I was expecting that I'd have money to burn when coming home. But it turned out to be a lot more expensive trip than I was anticipating. Yes, sir. I'm glad to be back, and we're rushing to get home. So we're catching a flight in a few hours. I know it's a ridiculous time to be leaving, heading home, but we're going to do it. Hmm. So anyway, and then being there at the airport, Jeff, I don't know if you read about what happened on January 1st, but getting stranded there, I'd almost forgotten about it. We got stranded in the airport, and it was a lot worse than it was a lot worse than what I showed you on YouTube. I mean, it was hell. Let's put it that way. It was hell. But the bottom line is, Philippine Airline and the government of the Philippines aviation folks, or whoever's in charge of that, they did an excellent job handling it. When I started thinking about this later, how would you handle it if something like this happened? Everything shut down, and then all of a sudden you have to land all the planes at the same time. Nobody can go anywhere. Flights, thousands of flights canceled. 60,000 plus people left stranded all over the Philippines. What can you do? What can you do? And the only thing to do is what Minnie and I eventually did, which is once they offloaded the luggage from the plane that we were supposed to be on, we grabbed the luggage and then we went to the hotel. We booked a hotel on booking.com as quickly as we could, and then we left. And then by 5 o'clock in the morning, I was getting a text message from Philippine Airlines saying, "We have rebooked your flight. Come back to the airport." So at 5 in the morning, we're getting up and we're racing to the airport, because I knew if we didn't get there, we would lose those seats to somebody else. We would lose those seats to somebody else who needed to get to Bangkok. Annie, yeah, the riots. Yes, I'm telling you that it was horrible. The whole thing was horrible. But not much has changed since then, though. That's the whole thing, Tim. Not a whole bunch of things have changed. Huntington Park, yeah. Can you believe that? Can you believe that, Ed? That's the kind of crazy stuff that goes on, right? In Huntington Park, LA police shot a man with no legs. Yep, I believe it. Troops is here. Troops travel. How are you? Thank you so much. Thank you for all the folks that shared. I really, really appreciate you. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell. So, anyway, you know, oh, you got to go. Hey, did your team win? Jeff, did your team win? That's what I want to talk about with you when we see you. All right, we'll see you. But did your team win, Jeff? That's all I want to know. You don't have to give me any more information, right? Just want to know if your team won. All right. So anyway, so what's the future? What's the future of Thailand? What's the future of the Philippines? I don't know. It's a mystery, because people are clamoring. They want people to come and spend their money, but the local government, I mean, the governments where you're from, they don't want you leaving. They don't. And so they're going to devise some kind of way to keep you planted, to keep your feet on the ground in the country that you have earned your money in. Because once people start traveling all over the place, all over the world, and spending their money there, that means that it leaves the country where you earn the money without your money being there. So they'd rather have you retire in the country that you earn the money in and then die there. You know, Everything in the United States is monetized. Housing, food, everything's monetized. Restaurants, everything is scaled. Plastic spatulas, even though they come from China. And funerals, right? Funerals, it would take you the equivalent of a lifetime to bury someone. Uh, if you were a Filipino and you're living and you're burying someone here in the Philippines when someone passes away, it's kind of getting expensive, but it's manageable. In the United States, it's just like education. They charge you a fortune for putting your loved one in the ground. I'm not kidding you. Tim says taxi and restaurant overcharging is trying to make up from the 2 years. Here, yeah, of course, but you can't make it up. It's lost forever. it's a very simple economic principle. I know. I sound like I know everything about everything, but I do. But you can never make it up. It's a very, very here. Let me. Okay, I'm going to give you a very simple economic principle, and it goes something like this: more and more. You have to think about it, though. You have to think about it. It applies to everybody. More and more of less and less equals more. It does not equal less. Write it down, put it in an algebraic equation if you must, but when you're done figuring it all out, you will have figured out that Dan was right. The equation one more time. More and more of less and less equals more. There you go. So now I've shared my knowledge with the entire world, and so now you can be rich like me. Except I'm not rich. Let's correct that part. I was making fun of that guy that used to come on late night TV. You can be rich like me. Buy my plan. Lovely Rita always uses her meter. Yes, yes. But she's lovely. And so we let her overcharge us. Oh no. Am I buffering? Dang. I didn't see it on my end. I did not see it on my end, but it's believable because I'm on the hotel internet and I'm using StreamYard. Yes, yes, yes. I am using StreamYard. Buffering, buffering, buffering. And Anastasia. Let's see. Filipino Raquel is still with us. I haven't chased her away. Pacquiao May, Pacquiao Mertz. Let's see, Larry. I see a comment by Larry. Let's see, Dan. I had a taxi driver take me the long way to the Navy base in San Diego. Oh, so they do this. Yeah, maybe the reality is, or the bottom line is that taxi drivers are the same, no matter where you are in the world, and so it would be unfair to say that taxi drivers. But I'll tell you what. Here's how much it's changed my behavior. Right, Madeline, how are you? Here's how much it's changed my behavior. So, as most of you know by watching one of my YouTube videos, man, Minnie and I, even though we were terrified of doing it, we took the train from the airport all the way in to Bangkok. And we made it all the way. Well, it was terrifying because when you're learning something new and folks aren't fluent in your language, you're learning how to communicate. All these experiences were great experiences, but we made it from the airport, which is a long way away. I might point out, all the way in to downtown Bangkok from the airport. That is a long way. Two trains, but didn't have to pay the expensive taxi price. And that's the other thing I like about Bangkok is that train, that elevated train, the BTS that goes around the city. They have also a subway and they have bot buses. Everything works. Everything works. And quite frankly, everything works well in the Philippines also. And the reason why is because you can understand how the jeepneys work. They go north, south, east, west. And if you have a little help from your GPS, you'll always know when to get off the Jeep to change your direction of travel. Very easy to understand. Today we met with a very, very good friend of mine I've known for, I don't know, 20 plus years maybe. Maybe it hasn't been that long, but I like to think that it was. It has been. His name's Manuel. Manuel, we had such a good time today hanging out with you, right? And so, Manuel, four rides to get to Manila from Cavite. And then, of course, I asked, we also had Mel and we had Anime who met us in Robinson's place. Pretty Me is in the house, and I know now why you go by the name Pretty Me. So and Sexiaco, and so uh, that's how you navigate things. Is it'll take 3 or 4 rides for you to come in from where you live in the province, but the whole point is you can get to where you need to go without breaking the bank. So I don't know. Maybe the whole idea, Sexiaco, maybe the whole idea is just for Mambini and I to become more self-reliant and not blame everything on the taxi drivers for wanting to take advantage. After all, they probably have a kid that's going to college that they have to pay for too. So don't take it out on the taxi drivers of Thailand or Manila. But I noticed that in Cebu they use the meter. And so why is that? I'm just asking you. Why are things so different? It's the same country, but in Cebu you don't even have to ask them. They just automatically drop the flag on the meter. Why? Why? Why is there such a difference? Again, it probably has to do with cultural adaptation. It's just the way things are because it's just the way things grew up. It's just the way things are. But like I said, when you do it that way, it's too easy to take the business away from you because all I have to do is go buy a car, which is easy enough if you have money. You just go buy a car and you join the Grab system, and then all those pissed off people that are landing at the airport, instead of going with the taxi, they just order a Grab car and away you go. And even if they think they're paying a little bit too much using Grab, they would rather use Grab because before the car even arrives, you have already agreed on the price of the fare. And with a taxi driver in Manila, you're always going to, and Bangkok, you're always going to be negotiating the fare. So it's too easy. So in Thailand, I believe they have, I don't want to get mixed up, but they have Bolt or they have some other application that's very similar to Uber or Lyft in the United States. And they're becoming extremely popular because people just don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered with the nonsense that goes on with taxi drivers. And quite frankly, that will eventually be their downfall. I'm building a hermetically sealed pyramid for the afterlife, Dan. Well, it'll probably preserve your body very well. So if there is a chance of them resurrecting you, then that's a good way to do it. Is to build a hermetically sealed pyramid and then put your body in there, and then you'll be good to go if they find out a way to bring you back to life. Yeah. Dan, you know about everything but the modern technology. Yeah, exactly. Don't know anything about how a computer works. As a matter of fact, I have a broken computer at home, but just like doing my own dental work, see, just like how I learned how to do my own dental work, I learned how to fix a computer by watching a YouTube video. So once I found out what was wrong with that computer, this is going back and forth with Vicky, my video editor. Then I said, don't worry, when I get home, we'll be able to repair that, or find the workaround. Not repair it because we're not going to repair it, but there's a workaround for the particular issue that we have with it. So we took it to the computer shop and they were nice enough to diagnose it, for us. But then I realized that, it's going to cost as much to repair it as it would a new computer. So we paid them for diagnosing the problem. And then I went on YouTube, put in there what the problem with the computer was, and then found a video that showed us how to jump a couple of the pins on the motherboard so that we can get the computer to do what we want. Thank you, Tox. Thanks for being here. And you be safe too. And take care. I love watching your live streams, talks. Whenever I get a chance, I'm there. Whenever I have time, I like to go in there and watch you. You're fun. You're fun. And Filipino Raquel is fun and works hard. Eee, so hard. I could never do it. I could never do a daily live stream. I don't think so. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Cebu is not as greedy. Well, it doesn't seem like they are. It doesn't seem like they are, but then maybe it has to do with the period of time in which they grew up. Manila being like more like an ancient city, and Cebu being a little bit more like a modern city, something like that. And so one came before the other, and so they learned from the first city's mistakes, something like that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Tim, do I look like I know what I'm talking about? We already determined that I'm low tech, right? Listen, don't take my word for anything that I say on this. Why would anybody be interested in hearing my opinion on anything? That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Do you do your own at home root canals? Now, see, now I wouldn't, I don't think I'm brave enough to attempt to do that. Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think that I'm going to get in there, if I had a file set, I might try it. I mean, if I had a dental file set, I might try and do my own root canal, but I don't think I have many more roots that are left that need to be canaled. So, no, but I did resubmit a crown when I went to my dentist, and my dentist says, no, we're going to have to, blah, 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 blah. It's going to be $2,500 because we have to build a new crown. We can't use the old one, and blah, 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 blah. And then I said, well, isn't there a thing on YouTube? Isn't there a thing going around on YouTube where it shows you how to do your own cementing of a loose crown? And then the dentist said, oh no, you don't want to. No, you need a trained professional to do that for you. Then I went and I ordered a kit off of Amazon, dental repair kit that they sell, and I was able to slap that bad boy in there, and it's been in there ever since. So the problem probably is going to be getting the tooth to come out when I need it to come out. When I'm ready, when I'm good and ready to do the repair on it. I mean, the legitimate repair, which I'll probably have done in the Philippines. Then how are we going to get the tooth out is the question. I probably did too good of a job cementing it in there. Marianne, Marianne, Marianne. Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. Yeah. I don't worry about root canals. I don't have any natural teeth. Some people would argue that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So anyway, yeah, I would go with dentures as opposed to implants. I don't know where you're at on that, guys. All right, well, that's about a wrap. We gotta finish packing, and we have an early morning flight out of here. So I want to thank everyone for joining me on my silly impromptu live stream. I'm thrilled that you guys took the time to be here, and I just want to say I'm thrilled with everyone that who's supporting me, sending me love and support. I really appreciate it. Sharing the videos. The channel is growing, albeit a little bit slowly but surely, but it's picking up. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed meeting the folks that I met when I was here in Manila. I really, really had an enjoyable time, and hope to see some more of you as we travel through the Philippines and then return back to Manila at some point in probably the not too distant future. And then Tim, I wanted to come to Pampanga and see you, but I will next time. And also I want to see that Baguio city video. I'm gonna go take a look at that right now to see what that's all about. I've been to Baguio City once. I was not thrilled. A lot has changed since I was there the last time. You know how they have the university there and the mall, and now they have 1 million people there, or whatever it is. Yeah, that will get me to go to Baguio City. And they grow great tasting strawberries there. But anyway, that's a discussion for a different time. Anyway, thanks so much, Anime. She's wishing us a safe trip, hun. And Minnie's got a little bit of a headache, and so she's knocked out. Bye, Ed, and Larry. If you're listening in the background, take care of yourself. We'll see everybody probably after we get back to Bye Bye City Leyte, and then you guys can help us plan where we should go next. So, everybody, thank you for being here, and good night. Bye, or good morning, or good evening, or wherever you may be in the world. Take care and have a nice rest of your day, or nice sleep. Nice afternoon. Bye bye. See ya.